Hello everybody, how are you guys doing? Hope everybody is doing amazingly well. Welcome back to another editorial analysis lesson. And today we have another interesting piece, another informative piece taken from The Hindu newspaper, August 14, 2021, from the editorial section. It's a beautifully written piece, guys. Beautifully written piece. It's very informative. We have a lot to learn from. The writer has made some grammatical mistakes in here as well. We'll talk about that as well. So we have a lot to learn from today. It's going to be really informative. It's going to be amazing. If you want to understand the science behind the language, the sweet science, if you want to understand the English language, understand the nuances involved in the English language, this is for you. Watch it until the end. And if you're just looking for some vocabularies, this lesson is not for you. Not for you. Watch some other lessons, alright? This is not for you. This is for the people who really want to master the English language, right? And that's what we are going to do. Obviously, we'll be learning some vocabularies, interesting words as well. That's going to happen. That's a part of it. But that is not the focus of this video, of this session. Alright, I'm excited as always. You guys know. I know you are too. Some of you at least. Let's do this. Alright everybody, let me show you the piece that we are going to work on, that we are going to analyze and break down and learn from. This is the very first page. This is the second page. This is the third page. This is the fourth page. And this is the fifth page, the final page. Alright, let's understand all of them one by one. Right, let me tell you what's going to happen. We'll read a sentence. Right, the very first thing we'll do is we'll try to understand the meaning of the sentence. The next thing we'll do is we'll figure out different parts of speech in the sentence. What is the subject? What do we have in the subject? What is the verb? What kind of a verb is it, right? The object, the modifiers, phrases, clauses, type of a sentence, right? This is how we are gonna go about it, all right? So let's do this. Let's start with the topic, the heading. What is that? Safe at school. It says, give me a second. It says safe at school. Right, so it's about the safety, it's about school, it's going to be about children as well. All right, okay, let's read the subheading. It says students should be able to return to campus. Students should be able to return to campus without fear under a particular condition if protocols are strict. So this is a complex sentence, right? This is the independent clause. Students should be able to return to campus without fear under a particular condition, that is if protocols are strict. We're not going to break it down. We'll just understand what this entire piece is about, looking at this, the heading and the subheading. So from the heading we understand it's about safety and schools are involved. From the subheading we understand it's about education, it's about protocols, right? It's about some diseases and education and school, right? This is what we can understand from the heading and the subheading. So let's just continue reading and understand what this piece is about and what do we have in here. Okay, the very first line, let's read it first. The first sentence. Okay, almost every child got left behind for more than a year in India. Then we have a comma, as COVID-19 shuttered schools and forced pupils to study online at home if they could. Here we have the period, the full stop. So this is the very first sentence. Let's try to understand the meaning of the sentence. So the writer says almost every child, not every child, almost, close to every child got left behind, right? For more than a year in India, for more than a year, for this time period, for more than a year, almost every child got left behind, right? In India, where? In India, because as the conjunction, COVID-19 shuttered, right? Closed schools. Shuttered means closed, right? Closed schools and forced pupils. Pupils means students, right? A person who's learning from somebody, right? Forced students to study online at home, right? So almost every child got behind for more than a year in India. Where it happened in India, right? Because COVID-19 shut its schools, because the schools were closed, and students were forced to study online at their home if they could, if they could. So this is the very first line talking about what's happening to children in India. And the reason is COVID-19, because the schools are shut down and students are forced to study online at their places if they could. Okay, now let's understand what we have in here. Okay, all right, let's identify the subject of this. Let's identify what kind of a sentence it is. Okay, so this is a complex sentence, because it's a combination of an independent clause, which is this, and a dependent clause, which is this. We have two dependent clauses, right? We have two dependent clauses and one independent clause, so it's clearly a complex sentence. Now we know it has three clauses, so we'll have three subjects and three verbs or verb phrases. Okay, all right, let me remove this. Okay. let's break down the independent clause. Almost every child, this is the subject, right? Child is the main noun, simple subject, right? SS, this is simple subject. Child is the simple subject. Almost is a pre-modifier. Almost every child, almost every. So almost is modifying the word every child, almost every. Okay, so almost every child got left behind, so this is in the passive voice, all right? So almost every child got left behind by something. Okay, they didn't just leave, they were left behind, they got left behind. So this is a verb phrase, this is a verb phrase, all right? Verb phrase. Got is the helping verb, left is the main verb, all right? Got left behind, left where? Behind. Left behind is working as one word, all right? Phrasal verb, it's working as a phrasal verb. For how long? They got left behind for more than a year. Where? In India. So this is a prepositional phrase. I'll write PP, okay, talking about the time of the action. They got left behind for a particular time duration. So it's talking about a time duration. It's talking about a time duration. So they got left behind for more than a year. For more than a year, they got left behind. And where it happened? It happened in India. Okay, everything is clear. We have the subject, almost every child. We have the verb phrase, got left behind, right? Behind is a part of the word left behind, a phrasal verb. For how long? For more than a year. This is working as an adverb phrase, talking about the time of the action. Left behind for how long? For more than a year. Where? In India. Got the point? Okay, let's clear this and keep reading. As now, you see, we have a comma here. So when what happens generally is, when an independent clause is followed by a dependent clause, we do not use a comma. We never use a comma. For example, I'll show you an example. If I say, and I'll use the same conjunction as well. I did not attend the class. I did not attend the class as I was busy, right? I did not attend the class. This happened. I did not attend the class. Why? This is working as the reason, conjunction, right? Independent clause, and this is dependent clause, right? So when an independent clause is followed by a dependent clause, we don't use a comma. This is what we do generally. But in the first sentence, almost every child got left behind for more than a year in India is the independent clause, and we're using a comma after this, which we generally don't do and we should not do. There is no reason for using a comma here until you really want a pause, but there is no need to have a pause here. So I don't understand why the writer has used a comma here. I won't use it. I don't recommend people using a comma here. Okay. as COVID-19, so now it's this dependent clause, the upcoming dependent clause is going to work as the reason why almost every child got left behind for more than a year, right? So I'm saying this comma should not be here. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I've seen some writers using commas before a dependent clause that comes before that comes after an independent clause, but that is against the rule of using a comma. All right, that is just against that rule. So don't do that. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay. Okay. Let's erase this. Okay. So the first clause is clear. What's happening, right? Almost every child got left behind for more than a year. Where in India? Because COVID-19 shuttered. This is the verb shuttered. So this is the This is the conjunction. Conjunction. COVID-19 is the subject. Shuttered is the verb. Shuttered what? Schools. This is the object. All right. Object. Shuttered what? Schools. And forced. So we have a compound predicate. So the COVID-19 did two things. It shuttered schools, first predicate, it shuttered schools, verb and the object, and forced pupils, right? Pupils to study online. Forced people to study online. Infinitive, infinitive uh, phrase. Okay, infinitive phrase. Forced people for what? To study online. Where? At home. Okay, this is what COVID-19 did. This is the reason why almost every child got left behind for more than a year in India, because COVID-19 shuttered schools, closed schools, and forced students to study at their place if they could. Now, here again, the comma should not be here, but I can understand why the comma is used here. There is a reason why this comma is used here. I'll tell you the reason. Okay. Okay. Just give me a second, guys. This is better. Not really. Give me a second. Stay with me. Better. All right. So let's remove this first. So if I say, catch me, you should catch him if you can. Right? If you can, under a particular condition, if you can, you should catch him. You should catch him if you can. So there is no comma after here. There should not. Okay? There should not. You should catch him if you can. Independent clause, dependent clause. Okay? Independent clause, dependent clause. But if you want to dramatize it, if you want to have a pause to dramatize the situation, you can use a comma here. How? I'll show you how. You should catch him. You should catch him. You should do that. Comma. See, look at my face. You should catch him. If you can. You should catch him. आपको उसको पकड़ना चाहिए. अगर पकड़ सको तो. You should catch him if you can. If you can. If you can, right? So the comma is used to dramatize the situation for a special pause effect, right? Here, but earlier the comma was useless. Okay. All right. Let's come back to our sentence, right? Okay. Reason: COVID-19 shuttered subject, first predicate, second predicate, infinitive phrase working as the reason, force people why to study online, right? Infinitive phrase working as the adverb phrase of reason, force people's why, pupils why, for what? To study online, where? At their home. Prepositional phrase working as an adverb of place, right? Study online, where? At home, if they could. Again, a dependent clause starting with the conjunction followed by the subject followed by the verb, right? If they could, right? Everything is clear. Okay, complex sentence it is. All right. This long period, second sentence, this long period of learning loss is a major setback in itself, affecting the physical and mental health of many students and depriving them of a year of vital skill and development. This is the second sentence. So the first sentence is about what's happening to kids, what's happening to students, and the reason why it's happening. Okay. Let's understand the second sentence. This long period of learning loss, this long period, period is the main subject, period is, sorry, this long period of learning loss, period of what? Of learning loss is a major setback, is a loss. Setback means a loss in itself, apne aap mein, major setback in itself, right? Now, so we're talking about what this period is. It's a major setback in itself, and it's doing something as well. So we're using a present participle phrase, and when it comes at the end of the sentence, we use a comma so that it doesn't unintentionally modify a noun that it doesn't intend to modify. Okay, affecting, right? What is affecting? The period, right? Affecting the physical and mental health. So first of all, we're giving information about this noun period, this long period. What kind of a period? This period, the period that is going on, and it's long and it's related to learning loss. This period, long period of learning loss, is a major setback. It's a loss, right? It's a major setback in itself, and it is affecting the physical and mental health of many students and depriving them, right? What it's doing, it's affecting their physical health, two types of health, physical health and mental health of many students, right? And depriving them, not giving them, taking the chance from them of a year of vital skill development, right? This is what's happening. So first of all, this is a major setback, it's a loss, right? And this is also affecting their physical and mental health, and depriving them of a year of vital skill development. The development, the learnings that they could have had in the last year, that's been deprived of because of COVID-19 and the situation that is going on right now. Okay, so this is a simple sentence. The long period of learning loss is a major setback in itself. This is an independent clause, main clause, affecting the physical and mental health of many students and depriving them of a year of vital skill development is a present participle phrase. Okay, now let's understand everything we have in here. Okay, let's change the pen, man. I don't like it. This long period of learning loss. Okay, this is nice. Learning loss. Let's reduce the size of the pen. Okay, this long period of learning loss, this is the subject. Okay, let's change the color. Let's have the red color because I like it. Subject. Okay, is the main verb, is the main verb, linking verb. Okay, is what? A major setback in itself. This is the subject complement. This is subject complement, a noun phrase. Okay, this long period of learning loss is what? So we're giving it a name. Subject complement basically gives the subject a name or modifies it. Here it's giving the subject a name. This long period of learning is what? Is a major setback. We're calling it a major setback. This is a noun phrase. This is the noun. This is a pre-modifier. This is also a pre-modifier. Article, right? Working as an adjective. Major article, adjective, right? So we have two pre-modifiers, 1 and 2, right? This is the subject and this is subject complement. All right, predicate nominative. So this long period of learning loss, and here period is the main noun, simple subject. This and long are pre-modifiers, and of learning is a prepositional phrase. This is a post modifier, right? And these are pre-modifier. Okay, noun phrase. Period is the noun. Period. What kind of a period? This period referring to a particular period, and it's long, right? Period related to of learning. Of learning, prepositional phrase starting with the preposition of, and its object learning. Of what? Learning. All right. So this long period of learning loss is a major setback in itself, affecting. Now, this is the present participle, affecting the physical, affecting what? The physical. This is the first thing it's affecting, the physical and mental health. So it's affecting two things. Number one, the physical health. Number two, the mental health of whom? Of many students, right? Of many students, prepositional phrase. So this is the very first thing it's doing. It's affecting the physical and mental health. So here we have two present participle phrases. Can you see that? Let me highlight this for you guys. So we have two present participle phrases. Number one, God, give me a second, guys. Number one, affecting the physical and mental health of many students. Number two, depriving them of a year of vital skill development. Depriving them, taking the chance from them of a year, depriving them of you deprive somebody of something, right? Of what? A year of vital skill development, a noun phrase. Okay, so first of all, this period is a major setback in itself. Apne aap mein it's a setback. Okay, it's a loss, right? It's a failure. Second, it is also affecting the physical and mental health of these students and depriving them of the year of skill development, the learnings, the development that they could have had. They're not having it because of the COVID-19 and the situation that is going on. All right. All right, guys, let's continue doing this. Hope you're getting it. Hope you're understanding everything that we have in here. Give me a second, guys. Alrighty, let's continue doing this. Okay, so this is again, let me highlight this. This is a simple sentence. And what do we have in here? We have independent clause plus two present participle phrases that we have already talked about. Okay, this is what we have in here. So until now we've understood what is happening to children, what is happening to students. It's been more than a year. They haven't gone to schools and learned anything, right? And they're forced to just study at their home, online learning, right? And this is all happening because of COVID-19. It shut down schools and forced students to study at their home, right? And this period is a completely failure. It has affected their mental health, physical health, and it deprived them of whatever the learning that they could have had, right? The skill development, the learnings, right? This is what we've understood so far. All right, next sentence. It is understandable. Okay, let's clear everything first of all. We'll have more space. It is understandable. Now we have two commas and we have the word therefore. What is it doing here? So therefore is a conjunctive adverb used in the beginning of a dependent clause, right? To introduce the dependent clause as a result, all right, as a result of something. And when it is used that way, we use a semicolon before it. We use a semicolon before it when it joins two types of clauses. But here you see we have two commas before it. We have two commas before it. So what exactly is it doing? It's basically breaking the flow of the sentence and reminding the readers that it is also the upcoming information, the information that's going to come ahead, that is ahead of us, is going to be about the result. Okay, it's going to be, it has a result effect. So this is what it's trying to show. Okay, It is understandable. It is the subject. Is the linking verb, main verb. Understandable, adjective. Subject, verb, subject, complement, adjective. Okay. It is the pronoun. Is the linking verb. Understandable is the adjective. Therefore, it is understandable that it is so. We don't actually need this. If you take this piece of information out of the sentence is still fine. No problem. No problem. Okay. It is understandable. What is understandable? That at least 14 states and union territories, okay, that is the conjunction. At least 14 states and union territories have tempered caution with what? With calculated risk, and opted to reopen campuses, uh, mostly for secondary and higher secondary students. Now, it is understandable. So we have the subject, we have the verb, we have the subject complement. Okay, it is understandable. Understandable. Now the information that we have is basically an adjective. Right, just give me a second. It is understandable. What is understandable? Okay, no, let's not call it an adjective clause. Let's call it okay, just give me a second, let me read this. It is understandable. What is understandable? That, okay, so it's working as an adverb clause because it's giving information about the adjective understandable. Now whatever information that we have after understandable is modifying the adjective understandable. What is understandable? What is understandable? It is understandable, and this entire thing is a noun clause. Is a noun clause, but it's giving information about the adjective. So call it an adverb clause. Okay. It is understandable that is the conjunction. At least 14 states and union territories. This is the subject of the clause. Okay. At least, just give me a second, guys. All right. God. What is happening? What is happening? Oh my God. Oh my God. All right. Okay, let's clear everything. Wait, let's clear everything. And okay, I'm not used to using it quite well, so that's why I'm facing these problems. No worries, no worries. Okay. uh, okay, it is understandable that at least 14 states and union territories, this is the subject. Okay, and we have compound predicate. So at least 14 states and union territories, at least 14. So we have two pre-modifiers, at least and 14, right? At least 14 states and union territories have tempered. This is the verb phrase, right? First verb phrase, tempered what? Caution, right? Object. Tempered caution means to strengthenizing caution, right? And how did they do it? With calculated risk. By calculating the risk, they have tempered caution, right? Making it stronger. This is the very first thing these 14 states and union territories uh, have done. And they've also opted to reopen campuses, right? So they have tempered caution with what? With calculated risk. Prepositional phrase with calculated risk. uh, give me a second, guys. So they've so they've tempered caution. How they've done it? With calculated risk. So it's giving information about the verb, how the verb is done. So it's done, the risk, the caution has been tempered with calculated risk, right? So this is a prepositional phrase. This is the preposition. This is the object of the preposition. This is the noun. This is the past participle working as an adjective. This is the very first thing all these 14 states and union territories have done. And they've also opted for, we generally use for after opted, we can use the infinitive as well. Opted to, this is working, this is the infinitive. right? Sorry, have opted. So this is the verb have, it's following the helping verb have opted for what? To opted, this entire thing is going to work as the object of the verb opted to reopen campuses, right? This is give me a second, guys. This to reopen campuses is an infinitive phrase, right? Working as the object of the verb opted. Okay, and just give me a second. All right. Okay, nice. Mostly for secondary and higher secondary student. So they've tempered caution by calculating risk, and they've opted to reopen campuses, but it's done for mostly secondary and highly secondary students. So we have the comma, right? So the writer has taken a pause and said it's mostly for secondary and higher secondary students. Okay, all right, let's remove everything and let's read the sentence again. It is understandable what? That at least 14 states and union territories have tempered caution, right? Have tempered caution with what? With calculated risk, and opted to reopen campuses, right? For whom? Mostly for secondary and higher secondary students. Mostly for preposition for whom? Secondary and higher secondary students. So for two types of students, secondary students and higher secondary students. This is secondary students, right? Noun phrase. Higher secondary students, again a noun phrase, right? Compound object of the preposition for. Got it? Let's move to the next page. These governments are not alone in looking for the golden mean to manage the pandemic. Very simple sentence, right? These governments are not alone. They're not alone in what? In looking for the golden mean. Mean means the way, right? The ultimate way to manage the pandemic. So the writer is saying that these governments are not alone. Other governments are also working to find out the way to manage the pandemic, to get rid of it, right? So let's identify. It's a simple sentence. Okay, what is the subject? These governments is the subject. These governments. Okay, R is the help. Sorry, just give me a second, guys. Give me a second. Alrighty, let's use this. So these governments is the subject. R is the main verb, linking verb. Okay, not negation. Alone, subject, complement, adjective. In preposition, in what? Looking for the golden mean. Why? To manage the pandemic. Now understand this. So we have the subject, these government. We have the verb, main verb, linking verb are. We have negation, not. We have the adjective, subject. We have the subject, complement, adjective, right? We have the preposition. We have the object of the preposition, that is a gerund phrase, and after the gerund phrase we have an infinitive phrase. Okay, now we'll highlight all these items and understand what they're doing. Infinitive phrase. Okay, so these governments, right, this is the subject. These governments are not alone. Negative. Alone, not alone. In what? Preposition, object of the preposition. In what? Looking for the golden mean. This is the gerund phrase. Looking for the golden mean. Looking is the gerund, for the golden mean, right? Again, modifying phrase. Okay, for the golden mean, prepositional phrase. For preposition, the golden mean, object of the preposition, a noun phrase. Mean here means the way, right? Now for what? To manage the pandemic. This is an infinitive phrase. To manage is the infinitive, to plus first form of a verb. To manage what? The pandemic is the object of the infinitive manage. Manage what? The pandemic. So this is a simple sentence talking about the governments are not alone. in handling the pandemic, to fight it, right, to get rid of it. Other governments are also doing it, right? So these governments are not alone in finding the golden mean, the ultimate mean to manage the pandemic, to get rid of it. Meaning other governments are also doing. Okay, we'll talk about it. Let's remove this. My throat is paining. Okay, in several countries, this is an introductory phrase coming in the beginning of the sentence. In several countries, right? Prepositional phrase starting with the preposition in, followed by the noun phrase. Several countries, right? Object of the preposition, and this is the preposition, and this is a prepositional phrase. And after the introductory phrase, we generally use a comma, and we have the comma, right? In several countries, right? And it's going to talk about the place of the action. I'm telling you, without reading the sentence, I'm telling you, it's going to talk about the place of the action. So this is a prepositional phrase, preposition plus its object, preposition plus its object, and it's going to work as an adverb of place. Just wait and watch. In several countries, leaders, subject, are exploring, verb phrase, helping verb, main verb, exploring what? Ways. Object, right? Subject, verb phrase, object. Ways, ways in what way? To reduce the risk of coronavirus infection among pupils, right? So to reduce infinitive, the risk of coronavirus infection. Okay, this is the object of the infinitive reduce. So exploring ways, leaders are exploring ways, trying to find out ways. And where are they doing it? They're doing it in several countries. Adverb phrase of place. I told you this is a prepositional phrase that is working as an adverb phrase of place. So the action is happening in several countries, in many countries. Okay, the leaders are exploring ways. The leaders are exploring ways to reduce. Okay, okay. So from to, okay, people eligible till vaccination. This entire thing is the infinitive phrase. To reduce is the infinitive, and after this is the object of the infinitive. And within the object, right? Let me write this down and explain you guys. So to reduce what? To reduce what? The risk of coronavirus. Here we say it's coronavirus. Okay. Infection, coronavirus infection among preposition pupils, among students who are not yet eligible for vaccination. The system of giving vaccines to people is called vaccination. Noun. Okay. All right. So to reduce what? Reduce the risk of coronavirus infection among pupils who are not yet eligible for vaccination. This entire thing is the object of the verb reduce. Okay. And this entire infinitive phrase is giving information about the noun ways. Okay, this is giving information about the noun ways, so it's working as an adjective phrase. This is an infinitive phrase that is working as an adjective, giving information about the noun ways. Ways in what way? To reduce the risk of coronavirus infection amongst preposition pupils. Now one more important thing is going to come. Pupils. Wait. Okay. Pupils who are not yet eligible for vaccination. So this who are not yet eligible for vaccination is an adjective clause that is giving information about the noun pupils. Okay. Let's oh my god. I don't know what's going on, man. All right. Okay, done. Okay, give me a second. All right. In several countries, leaders are exploring ways in what sense to reduce the risk of coronavirus infection among pupils, which pupils who are not yet eligible for vaccination. So who is the subject? Relative pronoun. R is the verb, main verb, not negation. Yet adverb, eligible subject complement. Adjective for preposition for what? Vaccination, object of the preposition. And this entire clause is giving information about the noun pupils. So what kind of a sentence it is? So leaders are exploring ways to reduce the risk of coronavirus infection amongst people. Complete sentence. Who are not yet eligible for vaccination. Dependent clause. So this sentence is a combination of, it starts with a prepositional phrase, then we have the main clause, independent clause, followed by a dependent clause. So a combination of an independent clause and a dependent clause makes it a complex sentence. Got it? Got it? So in where these things are happening, where leaders are exploring ways, it's happening in several countries. In many countries, leaders are trying to find out ways to reduce the risk of coronavirus infection among people, among students who are not yet eligible for vaccination, right? So they're trying to find out the ways to reduce the risk, right? For whom? For these students who are not even eligible for vaccination. They can't even get the vaccine. So these are the pupils. They're trying to find out the ways to reduce the risk. Okay, let's okay, next sentence. Okay, this is not a complete sentence. Wait, we have a comma in here. While getting them back on campus. Okay, so they're trying to reduce the risk of coronavirus infection among people, right? Among students, who's which student you already know. While at the same time they're doing something else as well. While getting them back on campus. While getting them back on campus. This is an adverb phrase of time. While getting them back on campus. So while they're trying to get them back on campus, while they're trying that they come back on campus and they study, right? They're trying to find out the ways so that they can reduce the risk for learners, for students who are not even eligible for getting the vaccine. So now the sentence has give me a second, guys. The sentence has prepositional phrase, main clause, dependent clause, plus again dependent clause. Got the point? Okay. I'm really sorry. Today I'm having a lot of trouble speaking. All right. So next sentence. At the end of the second wave, again a prepositional phrase. It's going to talk about the time of the action, which is in July. What is July? Okay, at the end of the second wave, which is in July, extra information, that is why it's within commas. It is offset using commas before and after it, right? At the end of the second wave, preposition, object of the preposition, the end of the second wave, right? Noun phrase, this is at the end. End is the simple noun, the pre-modifier of the second wave, prepositional phrase. This is working as the post modifier. All right. At the end of the second wave, which is in July, Haryana and Nagaland, compound subject, Haryana number 1, Nagaland, went, they both did something, went back where? To in-person teaching. We should have a hyphen here, in-person teaching. So they went back to, they started doing in-person teaching. So before this, they were doing online classes, all right? Students were forced to study from their home, right? Taking online classes. But in July, right, at the end of the second wave, which was in July, Haryana and Nagaland, these two states went back to in-person teaching. Went back to what? In-person teaching. This is the object of the preposition to. To what? In-person teaching. Teaching is the noun, in-person is an adjective. In-person. Teaching face to face, right? In the classroom. This is what it means. Classroom teaching. For whom? For higher classes. And it happened in July at the end of the second wave. Haryana and Nagaland went where? Went back to, sorry, went back is working as a verb, phrasal verb. Went back to something. Went back to preposition to what? In-person teaching, right? For whom? For higher classes, prepositional phrase, right? Giving information about the noun teaching. Teaching for higher classes. So we have prepositional phrase working as a modifier, time modifier. We have the subject, compound subject. We have the verb. We have the preposition. We have the object of the preposition. And we have preposition phrase again working as an adjective, giving information about the noun teaching. Teaching, what kind of teach? For higher classes. All right. Now again, while the time, so this happened. Haryana and Nagaland went back to on in-person teaching. At the same time, Punjab, Uttarakhand, Himachal Pradesh, Puducherry, okay, Puducherry and Lakshadweep. So these 5 states, are these 5? Punjab, Uttarakhand, Himachal Pradesh, third, Pondicherry, for Lakshadweep. Yeah, these 5. Okay, so the subject is a combination of many states. Are doing verb phrase. Are doing so means this thing. Okay, doing in-person teaching this month. Doing so when? This month. Okay, adverb of time. Now let's clear this and understand what kind of sentence it is. So Haryana and Nagaland went back to in-person teaching for higher classes. This is the independent clause, followed by a comma, right? While Punjab, Uttarakhand, Himachal. So this comma, the first comma is used to take a pause. So it's not necessary to use a comma here because the dependent clause, while is a conjunction, subordinating conjunction, and this is the subject of the conjunction. All right, this is the subject of the conjunction, this is the verb phrase, this is the object, this is the modifier, right? So this is a dependent clause. So after an independent clause, we don't have to use a comma if it is followed by a dependent clause, as I told you earlier, right? But it's used to have a pause, right? While इसके दौरान पंजाब, उत्तराखंड, हिमाचल प्रदेश, पौंडीचेरी एंड लक्षद्वीप वो भी यही कर रहे हैं. They're also doing the same. Are doing so means the same thing. When? This month. So independent clause is being followed by a dependent clause, and this is a complex sentence. See, I have lessons on each and every topic, each and every thing that I've mentioned so far. Complex sentences, simple sentences, prepositional phrases, adverb phrases, whatever I've mentioned so far, I have topics on, I have videos on all these topics. All right, let's move to the next page. We've understood this page as well. Okay, next. So these 5 states are also doing this, also doing the in-person teaching. Okay, now Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Uttar Pradesh and Odisha, these 5 states are to follow. They're not doing it. They're not doing the in-person teaching. They're to follow. It's a very simple sentence, right? They're to follow it. They're going to follow it. This is what it means. Are to do something. Are to do something means to going to do something. I am to leave in 15 minutes. I am going to leave in 15 minutes. This is what it means. All right. Simple sentence. and we have a couple of items in the subject. This is number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5 are to follow. Okay, infinitive are what to follow. Now, as schools reopen, this is a dependent clause, conjunction, subject, verb. Okay, dependent clause. So the sentence is starting with a dependent clause. Now, understand the rule. Whenever, and this has to be followed. This has to be followed. You cannot deny this rule. You have to follow this. Whenever a sentence starts with a dependent clause cannot stand on its own, right? So whenever a sentence starts with a dependent clause, you have to use a comma after it. I'll show you an example. If I get my salary, this is a dependent clause starting with the subordinating conjunction if. If I get my salary, comma, we will party, right? We will party. When I come back, when I come back, you should be asleep, right? So I'm using a comma after the dependent clause when it's coming in the beginning of the sentence, right? If it comes at the end of the sentence after the independent clause, we don't have to use a comma, but this writer has used it for having a pause sometimes, but in some cases the comma was useless, right? Okay, let's remove this. Alrighty. So as school reopens, this is going to talk about the time of the action. This is going to work as the adverb clause. I am predicting it. I may be wrong, but I'm just going to predict. This is what's going to work, right? My experience. Okay. So as school reopen, okay, plural subject reopen, their subject are positive subject, main verb, linking verb, positive indicators, right? Positive indicators. So positive indicators is the subject complement, noun phrase, positive adjective indicators, noun. Available from countries, this is an adjective phrase. Giving information about the noun indicator. Indicators that are available from countries. Indicators available from countries that are experimenting with back-to-back school decisions. Okay, so this experimenting, okay, experimenting with back to school decisions, this is a present participle phrase giving information about the noun countries. Okay, so there are positive indicators available from countries that are experimenting or that have been experimenting with back-to-back school decisions. Okay, and this is a reduced adjective clause. Okay, countries that are experimenting, so we reduced, we cancel out the conjunction, we cancel out the verb, and we're left with the present participle. That is how the adjective clause is reduced to the present participle phrase. So there are positive indicators available from countries, these countries which are that are experimenting with what? Back to school decisions and red flags. So these are experimenting with back to school decisions and red flags. Okay, now red flags basically mean if you get a red flag, you basically get a warning. I don't know in what context the word red flags is used here, so I'll not just talk about anything. I literally do not know. So it's basically I think it's about the punishments or something like that, but I'm not sure about it, so I'm not going to comment on it. Okay, so countries experimenting with back to school decisions and red flag in the wake up of Delta variant's wildfire spread. So in the wake up of Delta variants wildfire spread means after or as a result of Delta variants wildfire spread. So if something happens in the wake up of something, that means it happens after that particular thing happens. For example, I'll give you an example. Hmm, in the wake up of losing the money from gambling, he stopped hanging out stopped hanging out with his friends that gamble friends that gamble. Okay, so in the wake up of losing the money from gambling, so after he lost the money from gambling, he decided that I'm not going to hang out with these friends that gamble. Okay, so this is what it means. Right, give me a second. So, as schools reopen, there are positive indicators available coming from countries that are experimenting with what back-to-back schools decisions and red flags in the wake up. Red flags after the Delta variants wildfire spread. So it got spread, and it got spread very rapidly. Okay, wildfire spread. All right, so we have the dependent clause, we have the independent clause, we have a present participle phrase, we have a prepositional phrase. So obviously we have one dependent clause and one independent clause. That makes it a complex sentence, and we have some phrases as well. The meaning is clear, all the parts are clear. This sentence is understood. Okay, the next sentence. Let's remove everything we have in here. Okay, one study okay, one study of 1 million students and staff members who return to school. See, the verb hasn't come yet. We're just reading the subject, and the subject even hasn't ended yet. Okay, one study. So study is the simple subject, study, noun, and this is just one study. Study of 1 million students and staff members who returned to school this year in the United States. Okay, so one study of 1 million students and staff members. So we have, okay, let me write it down here and you'll understand it. This is very simple, guys, don't worry. So study is the simple subject here, right? We have pre-modifier, that is one, right? It's pre-modifier. We have post modifier, that is of a million students. This is how a noun phrase is formed, using pre and post modifiers, either pre modifiers or post modifiers or both. So here we have both, pre modifier 1, post modifier, prepositional phrase of 1 million students and staff members. Now the subject doesn't end here. Staff members who are, now it is followed by an adjective clause. Now what is the adjective clause? This is the adjective clause. Who return to school this year in the United States. Who is referring to staff members and students. Students and staff members who return to school this year in the United States. Not all the students and staff members and students who return to school this year in the United States. Now the subject of the sentence hasn't ended yet as well. There is the verb, no verb. Okay, keep reading. Where children must be 12 years old to get a vaccine, and showed is the verb. All right. So showed is the verb, and this entire thing starting from 1 ending here at vaccine, this entire thing is the subject of the sentence, and study is the simple subject. One is the pre-modifier of 1 million students and staff members who return to school, right? Who return to school when this year, okay? Adjective clause, subject, relative pronoun, verb return to preposition, school, object this year, adverb phrase of time, in, when, in the where in the United States, right? This is the adjective clause. Okay, now comma, we're giving extra information, where children must be 12 years old to get a vaccine. So return to school this year in the United States. Now the speaker, the writer is making it very particular, states where children must be 12 years old to get a vaccine. Showed. So this study showed, what kind of study? One study involving 1 million students and staff members and students particularly who returned to school this year. Okay. These students and staff members who returned to school this year where in United States, okay, where, see, we've used a comma here. Why? Because United States is a proper noun. Whatever information you give about it is going to be extra, non-essential. That's why this adjective clause, where children must be 12 years old to get a vaccine, is offset using a comma, right? So we have a comma before and after it. It's giving information about the noun United States. Okay, that is why the commas are there. So where is the conjunction, children is the subject, must be is the verb phrase, 12 years old is the object, to get a vaccine is the infinitive phrase, giving information about the noun 12 years old. Okay, so this study showed what? So we have the subject, right? We have the verb, and the subject itself has two dependent clauses, right? It has two dependent clauses, number 1 and number 2, right? So study showed what? Object. What is the object? It is the noun clause. Noun clause. How do I know? I've looked at it. Okay. Showed what? That in spite of the resultant exposure to 700 COVID-19 positive children and adults, only 363 other children and adults acquired the infection. Okay, let's clear everything first of all. It's getting messy. So showed what? That conjunction, in spite, despite, right? Contrasting. In spite of what? The resultant exposure, right? Exposure, the resultant exposure, the condition to be exposed, right? Exposure to what? Preposition, to 700 7,000 COVID-19 positive children and adults. In spite of the resultant exposure, the exposure that was there to all these 7,000 COVID-19 positive children and adults, in spite of that, only 363 other children and adults acquired, that means received the infection. So in spite of something else happened. So we use in spite of to give contradictory information. Okay, so in spite of breaking his leg, he won the match. So if you break your leg, you're not supposed to win the match, right? Because your leg is gone. How are you going to fight? How are you going to continue? So in spite is used to present opposing ideas. In spite of the resultant exposure, the exposure that was there to all these 7,000 COVID-19 positive children and adults, only 363 other children and adults acquired the infection. That means it was not that strong. This is what it means. Okay, so And this is showed by the study that involved 1 million students and staff members, particularly who returned to school this year in the United States, where children must be 12 years old to get the vaccine. Okay, let's move to the next page. Alrighty, my throat is almost gone. God. Okay. All right. This is attributed. This is the subject. This is the linking verb. This is attributed. Past participle working as the adjective. Okay. Adjective attributed to something. So when something is attributed to something, that means that particular thing contributes in the other thing. Okay. I'll give you an example to make you understand. This is attributed to a universal, and so we talked about 7,000 students being exposed to COVID-19, but only 363 acquired it. Now this is attributed, this success is attributed to a universal mask mandate. So subject, main verb, subject complement, adjective, to preposition, object of the preposition. Okay. To a see, mandate is the main noun. Okay, mandate. Right. A rule. Now a mandate, one mandate, universal, that was universal. Mask mandate related to mask. Okay, noun phrase. So this is attributed to a universal mask mandate. This all happened because of a universal mask mandate. So the success of the entire thing, why only 363 people got the COVID-19, those 7,100 people were exposed to it, this is attributed, the success of this or this whole thing is attributed to a universal mask mandate. Okay, I'll give you an example of the word attributed. Give me a second. Alrighty. My success is attributed. Okay, wait. Right. My dedication can be or can be attributed to what? To my success or to whatever I have achieved. Okay, right. So I have done something, I have achieved something, and this is what I attribute my success to. This is what contributed, helped me to get this. Okay. Similarly, the mask mandate, the mask mandate was the reason why we got the result that we got, right? That is what we attribute that particular result to. All right, let's remove this. Ooh, baby. All right. Simple sentence, subject, verb, adjective, prepositional phrase. Okay, simple sentence. Next sentence, in India, introductory phrase, it's going to work as the adverb of place. Now again, modifying phrase, with a school student population of over 250 million. So we're giving information about, so this information is going to be handy, right? So in India, with a school student population, with preposition, with what? A school student population of over 250 million. This is the object of the preposition with what? A school student population. Okay, so population is the main noun. A population, school related population, student related population, population of involving over 250 million, right? Population of 250 million people. Now these are first and second, these are phrases, modifying phrases. Okay, now this is the subject, resumption of in-person schooling, resumption of in-person schooling is advocated. So resumption is the main noun here, simple subject. Resumption of what? Resumption means continuation. continuation of in-person schooling is advocated. So advocated by some public health professionals based on the understanding that younger children are less at risk. This is the independent clause. So resumption, continuation of in-person schooling. Resumption of what? In-person schooling. So we have the simple subject, we have the prepositional phrase giving information about it. Resumption related to of in-person classroom schooling. Now, is advocated is the verb phrase, is helping verb, advocated main verb, and this is in the passive form, right? Because now we have the doer of the action. By whom? Some public health professionals, and this entire thing, this whatever the object, whatever the information that we've given, is based on what? The understanding, based on the understanding. Okay, so understanding is the noun here. So based on the understanding that younger children are at less risk. This is the object of the preposition on. Based on what? The understanding that younger children are less at risk, right? So now in this phrase, noun phrase, the is a pre-modifier, understanding is the main noun, and that younger children are less at risk is an adjective clause giving information about the noun understanding. Understanding, what understanding? That younger children are less at risk, right? So resumption, continuation of in-person schooling is advocated, is promoted, is advised by some public health professionals. Advised by public health professionals, right? Professionals nahi, public related to public health, dealing in health, okay? Public health professionals, and this is based on the understanding. What understanding? That, sorry, understanding. So that younger children are less at risk is the object of the verb understanding. This is not working as an adjective clause, this is working as the noun clause, right? But telling us what understanding this is. Understanding that younger children, that conjunction, younger children is the subject, are main verb, less at risk, subject complement. Okay, and this was the main clause, independent clause. Okay, now we have the comma. As they do not have well developed ACE2 receptors in the lungs that enable the virus to enter. And this is why the resumption, the continuation of in-person schooling is advocated, because as children, they is who? They is children. They do not have, verb phrase, do not have what? Well developed ACE2 receptors. Object of the verb have what? Well developed ACE2 receptors. I don't know what that is. What is ACE2 receptors? I have no idea. Receptors help us breathe well. So it's an equipment that help us breathe well. I don't know. Still, I don't know. Right? Receptors in the lungs. It's not an equipment because it's in the lungs, so it can't be an equipment, right? Do not have well developed ACE2 receptors in the lungs. Receptors that enable the virus to enter. Right? So because they don't have this receptor, and this receptor allows the virus to enter. So since they don't have it, they have less danger to catch the virus, and that's why these public health professionals have advised, have advocated to resume the in-person schooling. Okay, so okay, let's remove everything. So we have two phrases. Okay, number one, number two, independent clause, independent clause, independent clause. Now the dependent clause, and in the dependent clause we have another dependent clause, that is the noun clause. Okay, so this is a complex sentence. Understand the meaning, understand everything we have in here. Okay, let's continue reading and breaking down. Okay, this must be considered. Now, sometimes the writer breaks the flow of the sentence to introduce something, right? To have a special effect. This must, of course, and we have offset it using commas before and after it. This must be considered. This must, of course, be considered, right? So this is the subject. Must is the helping verb. Be is the main verb. Considered Must is the helping verb. Be is the helping verb. Considered is the main verb. This is in the passive voice because we're not talking about who must consider it, right? We're just talking about the object. This must be considered. What? That these children do not have well developed ACE2. This must be considered along and something else as well. Along with, so along with is used to add something. Along with what? The impact of Delta variant on children who get infected. So first of all, these children do not have well-developed ACE2 receptors that enable the virus to enter. This must be considered, along with also the fact that the impact of the Delta variant, the one that varies from that particular thing on children, right? So considered along with what? With the impact of the Delta variant on children who get infected. This is an adjective clause giving information about the noun children. Okay, so this must be considered also along with the impact of the Delta variant on children. So this entire thing on children who do get infected is giving information about the noun Delta variant. So on children who do get infected. So this is an adjective clause giving information about the noun children. Who, a relative pronoun, do verb, get to helping verb, get main verb, do get infected. Okay, passive form, do get infected. So this is basically emphasizing it. Get is give me a second, guys. So it's in the passive form. Okay, who do get infected by what? We're not talking about that. Okay, sometimes severely. See, again we have used commas to offset it. Sometimes severely. So and what happens sometimes severely? This impact of the Delta variant on children who get infected. Sometimes severely, even though their numbers may be small. Okay, it's getting messy. Let's read it from the beginning. This must be considered along with the impact of Delta variant on children who do get infected, sometimes very severely. So they get infected, and sometimes they get affected very severely, right? Infected, sometimes severely, giving information about the verb infected, sometimes severely, right? Working as a modifier, even though their numbers may be small. So this is a dependent clause. So they get infected, and now the contrasting information is going to come. So they get infected sometimes severely, even though conjunction, their numbers, subject may be verb phrase small. Got the point? Okay. In Ludhiana, prepositional phrase, introductory phrase, right? 20 students, this is going to work as the adverb of place. 20 students in 2 schools, right? This is the subject. 20 students in 2 schools. Main noun is students. 20 is a pre-modifier, in 2 schools is a post-modifier. Giving information, this is also giving information about students, and this is also giving information about students. So subject is 20 students in 2 schools, tested positive. And where it happened? It happened in Ludhiana, right? Working as the adverb of place, as I told you. Tested positive 8 days after 8 days after reopening on August 2, right? So it happened in Ludhiana. 20 students in two schools. 20 students from two schools in Ludhiana tested positive 8 days after reopening on August 2. So it happened after 8 days. After 8 days of reopening on August 2. Okay. So the schools opened on August 2, and after 8 days, 20 students from two different schools got positive, got tested positive. Underscoring means emphasizing, focusing the need for strict protocols, testing, and quarantining. So it happened 20 students in just 8 days after schools were reopened. 20 students were tested positive, right? And this is emphasizing, this is highlighting. Underscoring means highlighting, or emphasizing, right? Or emphasizing the need. Emphasizing what? So this is a present participle phrase from here to here. Underscoring, emphasizing what? The need. In what terms? For strict protocols, need for something, right? Need for is the preposition. For what? Strict protocols. This is the very first thing that is needed. Under emphasizing the need for what? Number 1, strict protocols. Number 2, testing. And number 3, quarantining. Why do we need all these things? Because we just saw after 8 days of reopening the school, 20 students from two different schools got tested positive. And this is highlighting the need for strict protocols. We need protocols and they need to be strict. We need testing and we need quarantining. We need these 3 things. Okay. All right. Okay, this is the last piece. All right. Maharashtra has followed. Maharashtra is the subject. Maharashtra. Okay. Give me a wait. Maharashtra subject has followed verb phrase, helping verb, main verb. Has followed what? The textbook object. Okay. In what? In setting up committees. In setting up committees. This is the object of the preposition. This is the object of the preposition. In what? Setting up committees. The object of a preposition can be a normal, regular noun or a pronoun or a gerund phrase. Okay. So Maharashtra has followed the textbook. Okay. Some rules. Textbook. In what? In setting up committees. Committees that are headed by collectors and civic officers. Civic means local. People living in the city. All right. And why they formed the committee which is headed by collectors and civic officers? To decide, infinitive phrase, on reopening, right? This is the infinitive phrase, to decide on reopening. Now this is giving more information about this. With optional student attendance. So Maharashtra has followed the textbook. Why? In setting up committees that is headed by collectors and civic officers. This is a past participle phrase, right? Giving information about the noun committees. Committees headed, that is headed by collectors and civic officers. Why? To decide on reopening, to decide when the schools are going to be reopened, and with optional student attendance. This is also that is needed to be looked upon. With optional student attendance. Reopening with this thing keeping in mind. Okay. So this is a simple sentence, right? Subject, verb, object, prepositional phrase, past participle phrase, infinitive phrase, again a prepositional phrase. Yet a simple sentence. Okay. All right. Such a decentralized effort is welcome. Okay. So this is the subject, such a decentralized effort. The main subject here is effort. Such, this, right? One effort, decentralized. That means the power is is taken from or is passed from one particular authority, one particular place to multiple places. So the power of taking decisions is not coming from one particular authority. It's coming from multiple places, so that they can take better decisions and they can function uh, more effectively. So this is welcome, such a decentralized effort, right? Because see, uh, Maharashtra formed a committee, right, headed by collectors and civic officials, people, officials living in the city, right? So now we're creating the different departments, we're giving powers to different people, so we're decentralizing this whole movement, right? The plan to take care the COVID, all right? Such a decentralized effort is welcome. Linking verb, main verb, welcome is the adjective. As again, the writer has used a comma. No need. As, use just as. Use the dependent clause without using the comma. As conjunction, the subject, as it allows, enables, closers. Closers only. Closer means ending, right? uh, as it allows closures only in areas with high incidence. So now when you're decentralizing the whole movement and you're involving collectors and civic officials, that means people are going to deal with this uh, in their respective areas. That means they'll be able to handle or tackle the problem in a better way. So this is welcome. As it, reason why is it welcome? As it allows closures, it allows uh, fighting with the COVID, understand this, right, in a different context. Closures only in areas with areas that are uh, with high incidence, where the incident is taking a bit more comparing to other areas. Okay. So this is a complex sentence because it's a combination of a dependent clause and an independent clause. Okay. It is important, subject, main verb, important, subject, complement, adjective, important. Why? To note. Now the entire thing is giving information about the adjective important. Why is it important? To note what? Now this is to note, this is the object of the verb infinitive note. This is important. Why is it important? To note what? That after 18 months of the pandemic, there is consensus, right? So this is the conjunction. After 18 months of the pandemic is a prepositional phrase talking about the time of the action. Okay, let's first of all erase everything. Okay, so it is important to note what? That after 18 months of the pandemic. Okay, this is the conjunction of the noun clause that is going to work as the object of the infinitive note. Note what? That there is consensus, means there is a common opinion or a belief, right? That there, the subject of the clause is the verb, linking verb. Consensus is the adjective, subject, complement. There is consensus on was consensus on what? On ventilator, and consensus on ventilation, ventilator nahi, not ventilator, ventilation, and distancing norms. There is consensus, there is a common belief, common opinion on ventilation and distancing norms as low cost interventions with efficacy next only to vaccination. So it is important to note, the writer is saying, see, note this, that after 18 months of the pandemic, so it's been 18 months, and it is important to note that there is a common belief that most people believe that next to getting vaccinated, next to having a vaccine, the best low cost intervention means the application of involving in something to basically help it. The best low cost intervention is to have ventilation, right? The system of giving air, right? That basically it's basically a system to breathe, right? So it's best to have an intervention of having ventilation and distancing norms. So it's best to have ventilation and distancing norms, right? We should have ventilation and distancing norms as low cost interventions with efficacy, right? Efficacy means efficiency. Efficiency, okay. Effectiveness. Effectiveness, okay. Next, only to vaccination. So obviously vaccination is the best option that we have, but next to vaccination, the best low cost interventions is to have ventilation and distancing norms, and this is what a popular or common belief is. That's what the writer is saying, okay. It's important to note this entire thing, okay. In the Indian context, talking about the Indian context, right, this should favor outdoor classes, right? So in the Indian context, talking about where it's allowed, where it's applicable, this should favor in the Indian context, right? This should favor verb phrase, subject verb phrase, favor what outdoor classes under preposition, under what natural or built shade, right? Noun phrase, object of the preposition under. Wherever possible, this should favor outdoor classes under natural or built shade, because in outdoor classes there is enough air and you can maintain distance. That's why it's favoring outdoor classes, right? Under natural or built shade, wherever possible. Now the writer has taken a pause and said wherever possible, जहां पर भी possible हो सके, ये favor करता है किस चीज को? It favors outdoor classes under natural or built shade. The reason being is because it has enough air, and in the open area you can follow distancing as well, right? Now the last line, it is disappointing, subject main verb, disappointing, subject complement adjective. It is disappointing that what is disappointing? This entire thing is disappointing that teachers and staff, so this is giving information about the adjective disappointing, that teachers and staff, subject of this clause, have not been universally vaccinated. Have been vaccinated is the verb phrase. Have helping verb, been helping verb, vaccinated verb, and this is in the passive. This is in the passive voice, right? It is disappointing. What is disappointing? That teachers and staff have not been universally means everywhere vaccinated. Now we're not talking about who should vaccinate them, because that is obvious. It's obvious that we're talking about it's doctors that's gonna vaccinate them, right? So the sentence is in the passive voice. It is disappointing that teachers, that is the conjunction, teachers and staff is the subject, have helping verb not negation, been helping verb universally, adverb vaccinated, okay, vaccinated, universally vaccinated, yet adverb again, yet verb of time. A lacuna, and this entire thing that the teachers and staff have not been universally vaccinated, this entire thing is a lacuna, a gap, which is a gap that must be urgently filled, right? This is a noun clause. A lacuna is a noun followed by adjective clause. Okay, lacuna that must be urgently filled. That conjunction working as the subject must be helping verb, urgently adverb, filled main verb in the passive form. Now again, not talking about who's gonna fill it, right? So in the last line, the writer says it is disappointing. The fact that the teachers and staff have not been vaccinated universally everywhere yet. This is disappointing. Okay. And the writer is calling it a lacuna, a gap. This entire thing is a gap that must be urgently filled as soon as possible. Right? So this is what this entire piece is about. Hope you've understood it. Hope you've understood a lot of important things. Understood the usages of commas, application of clauses, identification of subject, verb, object, prepositional phrases, infinitive phrases, and a lot of other things as well. So that is it from my side, guys, and I am completely done. I can't even speak, so not complaining. See you guys very soon. If you enjoyed this breakdown, this analysis, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, if you still haven't subscribed to the channel yet, make sure you do that. If you like my content, if you want to be a part of this family, English with Ashish family, subscribe to the channel and press that notification button so that every single time I come up with a video, I publish a video, I share a video, you get notified and you get to watch it right away, right? And if you have any questions, any doubts, obviously you can ask me in the comment section. As always there to help. And you can join my Facebook group, Instagram page, check out my website www.englishwithashish.com. And I'm signing off. Thank you for tuning in. This is a small drawing for you guys. I made it using my own hands. So I'll see you guys very soon. Till then, keep learning, have fun. I'm out. Namaskar.